Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Pichael with League of Items, and tomorrow is Friday, and that means we have a ton of League of Legends to get through. Let's do a quick recap of the games from earlier today. We had a Freak of Freaks against Hanwha Life. I was on Hanwha Life. I lost. I lost that one. Hanwha Life looked absolutely horrible. Uh, Honestly, they looked worse than they did in the first couple of matches, and I got some pushback from the community in general about like being on Hanwha Life in that kind of spot, and I mean I think that my record kind of speaks for itself. I've done a pretty good job this season looking for spots where underdogs had a chance. So I don't really feel like now is the time to start questioning like ever picking an underdog, because anytime you pick a big underdog and they lose, people are going to be like, are you out of your mind? You actually thought they could win? And the answer is yes. There will be points in this season where we have big underdogs winning matches that we think they have no business winning, and I'd rather be on that side on DraftKings or on the sportsbook, because that's when you're going to have the most leverage over the field. So, yeah, I think Lehens and Viper still looked pretty good in those matches, especially in the first game. It looked like Viper and Lehens were very close to being able to carry that game, or at least turn that game around and make it very competitive. The second game was a nightmare. The fact that they died that many times trying to gank top lane was just hilarious and also extremely sad. In the second match, we had DRX against Dynamics. DRX won this one pretty easily. The first game, I believe, was closer than the second, and they looked pretty dominant in general. Just let me make sure I have the game score correct in that one. So let's go to LoL Esports. We'll go to schedule. Yeah, it was a 2-0. I do think one of those matches was actually relatively close though. And then we had OMG beat Rogue Warriors in a 2-1 series. That was actually extremely high scoring, which it's not shocking that it was very high scoring, but that's not how I really anticipated it going. And then JDG against World Elite. In the first game, JDG was held to like 3 kills or something like that. I had some people tweeting at me, like panicking. I'm not going to name any names, but they turned it around. And JDG was able to eventually win that match. So yeah, in Korea I was 1 for 1. In the LPL I was 2 for 2. I think I am missing a few matches in here because I was throwing them on like the 628 tab, but yeah, let's do this. 7-2. It's gonna be 7-3. So these are gonna be all the games for 7-3. I love the weekends in League of Legends. I think it's awesome that there are so many games going on. Let's see. DRX and T1. DRX. It was DRX against the Freak of Freaks. DRX. Okay, so I am missing a few games. So let's do that. We'll throw that in there. And then that will go in here. And then let's see, SK, Misfits. Okay, that one's all good. And North American LCS, TLGG. FlyQuest, C9, 100 Thieves. So I don't think I have these in here. Wait. FlyQuest. Yeah. And then last is CBLOL. Alright, so all bets, I'm at 109. Well, all picks, 109 and 62. That's 62%. Still good. Pretty happy with that. I have been going out on a couple of limbs, picking underdogs and stuff like that. If yeah, basically that's just the reality of the situation. But it's always good to give yourself chances on these underdogs because that's where you're gonna make more money. Let's get this back in order. So as per usual, just a reminder, I'm not giving out my picks in the videos. In order to get access to the actual picks that I make, which I post every night, between like 10 to 11 o'clock usually, when I'm like doing my live stream and stuff like that, is normally when I actually get my picks up, because I spend the rest of the day, well, not the rest of the day, but I spend some of my day looking closer at some of these matchups after I have more time to reflect on it. So first up, we have, actually I could do that. We have Top Esports is the favorite, eStar is the favorite, LNG, and Vici Gaming. I believe the rosters are out, so let me just throw the money lines in, and then we'll go take a look at that. Minus 130, plus 104. Twitter. That's my PayPal link, just in case anybody wants to send me a tip. If you want the Patreon link, it's on all of my videos basically. All right, so let's go to the other one first. 369 Karsa, Knight, Jackie Love, Yuyan Jia against Chenlun 17, XX, Maple, Light, and Dwan. Gigantic favorite. Pretty obvious. The question is, will they be high enough scoring to like justify the amount of salary you're gonna have to spend on them? Normally, the answer is yes. They're always the chalk. Next up, we have Vici Gaming and eStar, Xiaobai, Wei, Fun, Wink, and Xiaoxi against Cube, Leon, Zika, iBoy, and Hong. So let's get into that matchup real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we have a lot of games that we have to go through, but it could be beneficial to look at. So we have Vici Gaming. Let's take a look at their most recent matchup. So they beat LNG the other day. Okay, I was remembering that correctly. And then eStar. eStar lost to FPX. So we can't really blame them for that one. They also lost to RNG. They lost to LNG. Or no, they beat LNG, lost to BLG. So they've both beaten LNG. Nothing standing out there. Let's go lane by lane. Cube against Xiaobai. They've been trying out the Volibear, Wukong. I don't think there's a huge advantage in one way or the other in this one, in the top lane. In the jungle, we have Leon and Wei. Leon was playing good champions in their match against LNG. Yeah, we have a Volibear game, a Graves, Volibear, Nidalee. So I like the Graves, I like the Nidalee. Volibear, I'm on the fence. I'm not sure if that's a good champion or not right now. I know that it's very popular, but there are a lot of ways to punish it, especially in top lane. So if a team picks it blind top, they can get punished. The Shy played Gnar against it, and that looked out of control. Like, that looked like a very good matchup. Gnar's a very fun champion to play. I've been playing a little bit of Gnar recently. A ton of fun. A ton of fun. In the mid lane, Zika and Fun. I think that Fun has looked decent throughout this split. Surprisingly, I was pretty low on him going in. I thought that it was going to be a downgrade for E-Star, but it's basically been a side grade in my opinion. I think Cryan has shown he's not a gigantic difference maker on RNG because they benched Xiaohu, which was out of control. I'm still pretty annoyed about that. So I would actually say that this is an even matchup though, because we don't have a ton of information on Zika, but I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt until he shows me that he can't do it, because Coma believes in him, and Coma knows more about League of Legends than just about everybody, or at least coaching League of Legends than just about everybody. So that's interesting. In the bot lane, we have Wink and Xiaoxi against iBoy and Hung. I think this is a spot where the majority will believe that it's an even matchup. I think that E-Star does actually have an advantage in the bot lane. Wink has been playing better than iBoy, and Xiaoxi has been playing pretty well as well. So when E-Star looks good, it's a lot of the time it's because Wink and Xiaoxi are doing well in the late game team fights. Obviously, like I always say, it's tough to give AD carries too much credit, because a lot of the times they're just products of their environment, where they're not creating the winning difference for their team, but get all the benefits of it and look the best because of because of how League of Legends is generally played. So that's it for China. Let's go to Korea. So we have KT Rolster against SP, and we have T1 against Gen G. So we have minus 179, minus 120, and we have 135 and minus 108. We got to switch this number. So two good matches. I think that these are both close matches. I'm surprised at this number right here. So regardless of what team I make my final pick, I do think that Seoul Haewon Prince is a live dog. I would have to think it's basically a 50-50. Not sure why they're at 135. I would prefer if they were even higher, obviously. But let's just take a look to remember what has happened recently in their matches. KT beat Hanwha Life. Smeb looked good in that match. They lost to Damwon Gaming. Damwon Gaming is a good team. They lost to Gen G, which is a good team. They lost to Team Dynamics, which was a bad loss, but that was the first match of the split when they didn't play Smeb and Kuro, which was a mistake, I believe. Smeb, Bono, Kuro, Aiming, and Tucson, so no surprises there recently. And then Ixu, Flawless. So they did change their jungler for one match. That's kind of scary. And they played Keene instead of Mickey in one match, so that's kind of scary. This should be the first game, so we should have information about the starters for this. That's scary. I think Mickey should definitely be the one playing. I think he's a better player than Keene. That makes me like Seoul Haewon Prince a little bit less. So this one I'm gonna have to reserve judgment until early in the morning when I know who's starting. So that kind of makes it pretty difficult for me to give my opinions on this match. In the top lane, I think Smeb is better than Ixu, but this should be extremely volatile because of the playstyle of both players. Flawless or Kuma against Bono, I don't think there's a big difference either way. Kuro against Mickey or Keene, I think that if Mickey plays, it's probably better for Kuro because there's the higher % chance of the game getting out of control. And then Hybrid and Secret against Aiming and Tucson, they probably have an advantage on the KT side in that one. I think Aiming is better than Hybrid, but not by a lot. It's very close. So that's a tough match. I thought that I'd be on the Seoul Haewon Prince side because of the additional value, but it's looking a little more difficult than that because of the question marks surrounding the roster. Next match, we have T1 and Gen G, so let's just get a reminder of what happened in their last match. T1 lost to Damwon Gaming. Gen G beat Sandbox. They beat Damwon Gaming. Okay, so here's a spot where I think that a lot of people are going to be on Gen G because T1 didn't look so great in their last match. I would be concerned about T1 with potential substitutes again, because they're always that you always run the risk of having substitutes for T1, which is pretty scary. Like during the match. So I think Teddy will definitely play every single game. Kana will definitely play every single game. The jungle is a big question mark. The biggest question mark is in the jungle. Second biggest question mark is support, and then I do think it's non-zero that Faker is subbed out for either one game or multiple games, just because they want to get their other players some stage time. With that being said, I think the way that the season has started for T1, they already lost to DRX, they lost to Damwon Gaming. I'm sure that they really know that they need to run their best lineup out there tonight to play against Gen G. Let's take a look at some of the recent compositions they've run. So we had set mid twice. Oh no, sorry. A Nico game and a LeBlanc game. But that game just got out of control. I don't think it was necessarily the pick ban phase. Let's see. Mordekaiser, Lee Sin. Aphelios made it all the way through, so that's interesting. I guess they first picked Kalista instead of first picking Aphelios when it's available to them. And then we had in the second game, Aphelios made it through as well. So that's interesting. Not sure why they would do that, but I'm not one to second guess T1. I think that they had a game plan, it just didn't work, which is fine. Now we have Gen G. Their support is always a question mark. They go back and forth seemingly without any real indication as to why. But Rascal, Clid, BDD, and Ruler, they are playing some Volibear, playing Ashe. So Ashe is their pick against Aphelios, so they're willing to leave up Aphelios and play against it, which that might just be a huge benefit for T1 if they want to throw Teddy on that. Hopefully that is something that happens tonight. I have an idea, and maybe it's obvious which side I'm going to be on. But like I said, I'm not telling anybody until tonight. But people who are familiar with me, maybe they might be able to anticipate who I'm picking in that one. Next up, we have Europe. All right, LEC. Let's see what we've got in the LEC. First up, Vitality against XL. Then we have Mad, Fnatic, Origin, and G2 without perks. Then we have XL, Schalke, SK, Rogue, and Misfits. Very interesting. 132 minus 625. Whoa. Origin minus 133. G2 without perks minus 200. Ugh. So I'm not 100% sure if they've discussed how they're going to replace perks. I think that they have their backup, their substitute is Pinoy. So Pinoy was a AD carry that played for Gambit, I believe. And then he's been on the bench for G2 and they haven't had to use him. But not really sure what to do with that information. So let's take a look at the rosters. Vitality against XL. So these are two teams that I'm not big fans of. They're not very good teams. Vitality has looked better in some of their wins. 1, 2. They beat G2. They beat SK. And they beat SK last week, right? So this is probably the better thing to look at here. So we have XL XL beat Schalke and lost to Misfits. So I don't think anybody's opinion is really going to change on them. Vitality lost to Misfits, and Vitality beat SK. That might be a reason why they're the favorites in this match. Some people do believe in SK as being a relatively good team, like a middle-of-the-table team. Personally, I don't really think so. So I don't really believe in betting on them as favorites. Vitality against XL. Cabochard against Kryze. That should go even. That might actually even benefit Kryze because I think he is the one that's more likely to pull out a pocket pick that like can counter something that Cabochard is trying to do. Mad Lions against, let's go to the jungle. Caedrel against Njai. Caedrel has had some fanfare surrounding him in the past. He was really good at one point in the LEC, but that was mostly like just hype. He's an okay player. He's nothing special, actually. Special against Milica. Again, this is like the European mid laner. I don't really think either one is very good. There's not a huge difference between the two sides there. And then Comp and Labrov against Patrick and Torre. I've seen more from Patrick and Torre. I have won money with Patrick and Torre in the past, so I do feel good about them. I think that this line is basically should be just 50-50, and the vig is on this side, so it's really just a pick 'em. I'll have to put more thought into that. Mad against Schalke. Mad Lions is 6-1. I mean, sure, Schalke should theoretically have a chance at winning, but Mad Lions is just a superior team right now. I don't think they're as good as ESPN Esports thinks they are, but they are certainly better than Schalke. I think in the one game slates that we have, I think that you can justify running out a Schalke lineup, but I'm not going to get a ton of exposure to them. You're just asking for trouble at that point. Fnatic against SK. Fnatic gigantic favorites against SK. I wish this line was a little bit closer. SK beat G2 last week and lost to Vitality. So if SK beat G2 and beat Vitality, I think this would be much closer. Fnatic has lost, I think, their last 4 matches, and they're still a gigantic favorite because everyone knows that Fnatic is the more talented team. Can SK beat them? Of course, it's possible, especially in a one-game sample, but most people will be on Fnatic, and for good reason. They're one of the better DraftKings teams when they're winning games as well, so keep that in mind. Now we have the 2 better matches. These are very good for like real life matches, regardless of DraftKings. So we have Alphari against Finn. I think Alphari is the better player. Xerxes against Inspired. I think Xerxes has more of a track record, and that's like a good thing to take into consideration. But that also means that he is more hyped up by the community than Inspired is. Let's take a look at champion pools, see what they've been playing recently. Set and Volibear, Trundle, Olaf. So if Rogue does place a high priority on Trundle, I could see that being an advantage for them. Origin also plays Trundle, but we're seeing a ton of Set. So Set and Volibear. It'll be an interesting pick ban phase. I think Origin can justify first picking Set overall and using him as a flex. He is really a quadruple flex right now. You can play him top lane, jungle, mid lane, and support. So it is a good first overall pick. However, if Origin is going to do that, that gives Rogue the opportunity to pick Trundle and a good AD carry. So that's interesting to think about. Let's take a look at the standings real quick. So Rogue is ahead of Origin in the standings. I'm not a huge believer in Rogue. I think that it's interesting. It's actually at a 50-50 with Origin being the favorite, and that's kind of surprising because I would have figured that the hype would have been on the side of Rogue. So last week Origin lost to Mad Lions, and then Origin beat Schalke. There's no reason to get excited about that. And then Rogue beat Fnatic, which is theoretically a good win, and then lost to Mad Lions. So both of them lost to Mad Lions last week. Surprising line. I don't really think there's much value on this line at all. And if there is value, it would be on the Origin side for not being as highly rated as they probably should be. Because Rogue has looked better recently, but if you look at like a longer term form, Origin should grade out as the better team. In the mid lane, we have Larson and Nuke Duck. I am not a big Nuke Duck fan, especially for DraftKings. He always leaves something to be desired. In the bot lane, I do think Rogue has an advantage. Hansama and Vander over Upset and Destiny. I definitely prefer Rogue in the bot lane. So I do anticipate this being a lower score match, especially if Origin is the team that's winning. They have had some good performances this split against good competition, but their preferred playstyle is always to have like a macro game. So that does scare me a little bit. The last match of the day is Misfits against G2 without Perks. So if Perks was playing, I think that this line would be G2 minus 300-ish. So Perks not being there has dropped it down to 200. I think that the difference between Perks and Pinoy, talent-wise, is gigantic. But the difference between those two in this matchup specifically, I'm not sure if it's worth 20%. Because as long as they get Pinoy onto a champion that he is good at, which they should be able to do as the blue side team, then he should be in a comfortable spot. Mickey's a good player. Mickey can kind of dictate how the lane goes. So let's look lane by lane. So we have Wonder against Dan Dan. I definitely prefer the Wonder side of the matchup. Wonder has been okay this split. Dan Dan has been bad for most of the split, in my opinion. Just relative to how he did last split. Razork, as they say in LEC, which is horrible. Razork against Jankos. Jankos is the better player. Razork, another player that hasn't looked great this split. Fabivin against Perks is an interesting matchup. I think that the talent is pretty close here. Yeah, I think that the talent is pretty close in that matchup. Fabivin went on that whole like North America stint and then came back. He wasn't necessarily even going to play for the LEC or in the LEC, but he eventually won his spot, and he has been playing pretty okay. I don't think there's a gigantic advantage in the mid lane, but most people would say Caps is a huge favorite over Fabivin. I'm a little bit lower than that. In the bot lane, Pinoy and Mickey against Kabe and Doss. So I think that Kabe and Mickey kind of cancel each other out, and then Doss and Pinoy kind of cancel each other out. So right now it looks like G2 has the advantage top lane and jungle, and everything else basically levels off. I think if we get into late game team fights, I do think Misfits has a good chance to win this match. I am high on Misfits for the rest of the season. Right now they're 4-3. G2's 4-3. G2 is a better team than Misfits. If this was a best of 3, I would almost certainly pick G2. But the fact that this is just a single match, Misfits can just come out with like an interesting composition or a very good game plan to exploit the fact that Perks isn't there. It'll be interesting. I will be asking a lot of people who they actually like in this matchup, because it'll be interesting to gauge who the public is actually on. And that's always a good way to gauge it, is by asking other people. Then we have 100 Thieves against Golden Guardians, and we have Cloud9 against CLG. CLG is a very big underdog, which is not surprising. Minus 909, 100 Thieves, 145, 114. So 100 Thieves in their last match, they lost to TSM, but they looked good in their loss against TSM until the end of the game. They made one bad macro decision, and that ended the match. In that game, TSM had the lead, threw it away, and then 100 Thieves had the lead, threw it away, and that's kind of when the game ended. So last week we had 100 Thieves, lost to CLG, lost to TSM. I don't know why this line is like this. 100 Thieves also has substitutes coming in, so maybe I'm missing something. Let's take a look at the rosters. Did Golden Guardians make some kind of change I didn't know about? Contracts is starting and Poom is starting this week. Stunt left. Wow. I did not know about that. Okay, so that's interesting. It doesn't really impact the match that much because I didn't think Stunt was playing well at all anyways. But it will be interesting to see how Poom plays on stage, I guess. So we had Hale leave, which doesn't matter. He's just a coach. Well, it's not that he's just a coach. It's that he's a coach that I don't really care if he was there or not. Okay, so then Golden Guardians, they still have the same roster, so I'm surprised. This is something that I'm going to take a look at a little bit closer. That looks like a potential real-life bet spot. So do what you want with that information. Both teams definitely have a chance to win. Contracts coming in from their academy team. He has been on a pro team before. I think he's still relatively young. Yeah, he's still relatively young. And he did look very good at one point. He does play in Italy. He does play these carry champions. I think that the reason why he couldn't really compete on the professional stage the first time he was a pro is because of his carry style, and it was much more difficult to play the carry style back in that meta. But yeah, interesting match. C9 against CLG. You're basically asking yourself, what percentage of the time can CLG actually beat C9? I think that it's definitely non-zero, but I'm not going to feel comfortable making a real life bet on CLG. At 520, it's close. Maybe you throw $20 on it to win 100. I think that's okay. Because I guess CLG should win this 1 out of 5 or maybe 1 out of 10. It's borderline. Because it is 520. And betting against C9 at this point, it's pretty tough. Licorice against Ruin. Licorice is the better player. Blabber against Wiggly. Blabber's the better player. Pobelter and Niski. Niski's the better player, but it's closer than most people will admit because they like Niski. They like the fact that they get all these early game leads because Blabber's basically carrying Niski around the map, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying Niski's bad. I'm saying Blabber is the reason why they get these gigantic leads. Sven against Stixay. Sven's a better player. Vulcan against Smoothie. Vulcan's a better player. So, yeah, pretty obvious what side should win that match. Doesn't mean they will. Now everybody's favorite, Brazil. We have Kaboom. Pain Gaming is a minus 200 favorite? Oh my god. Flamengo. Then we have Vivo, Santos, INTZ, and Furia. So let's make sure that I'm not missing anything in CB LOL with like rosters. Kaboom against Vivo Keed. Vivo Keed has been winning some of their matches recently. They lost to Santos, you can't blame them. They lost to Furia. I picked them as an underdog in one spot and they won. Yeah, VK against INTZ. So Kaboom against Vivo Keed. Yang is okay. I feel like he had a really good game last week in one of those games. Minerva is the guy who played Jungle Morgana at one point. I don't think Vivo Keed is as bad as their record, but you're not... you are getting pretty good value. 159. 148. minus 204, 150, minus 122, minus 110. Alright, so let's go back to here. Kaboom against Vivo Keyed. I think that Hidan was actually on Santos at one point. Nosferus against Toots. Let's look at some recent matches and see what champions they were playing. Because I don't have a heavy lean either side in this one. Renekton, Volibear, Azir. Kaboom is playing more of the carry junglers. But they are as well. We have Senna. It looks like these teams are giving up Aphelios. Aphelios ban. They gave up Aphelios. That's... You don't really want to see that. Okay. So... I do think that Vivo Keyed is a live dog, even at minus 159. I think that Vivo Keyed... their roster is different from last season. But so is Kaboom. Kaboom lost Parang, which is a pretty big loss. Interesting. Look out for my pick on that one. I'm not convinced which side I'll be on in that, to be honest. Next up, we have Pain Gaming, aka the Dallas Cowboys, against Santos. So if we look at the standings, we have Pain Gaming number 1, Santos number 2. Why are they such big underdogs? I don't understand that. Okay, so I mean, I don't even have to talk on this one. Anybody who has paid any attention to me knows what side I'm on and why. One team is the Dallas Cowboys, one team is not. One team is my favorite team in Brazil, the other team is not. So maybe I'm betting with my heart again, and I've been doing pretty well when I bet with my heart, except for Hanwha Life, but we're not going to talk about that. Another fangless performance by Viper and Hanwha Life. He is not a Lehend. He a Lehend, if you catch my drift. Flamengo against INTZ. Flamengo is a better team than INTZ, I think, overall. So I'm pretty happy that... Oh, wait, I'm not happy. I thought they were the underdog. Never mind. Yeah, Flamengo with B-Voy. They should be the better team. This is a hair game as well. I know a lot of people have been focusing on the hair of people. Like, Goku has pretty okay hair. Raven, interesting, relatively. A lot of hair on that side. Bankai had a gigantic game last week. So, Flamengo is looking pretty good. INTZ, my problem with INTZ is they haven't beaten anybody. So, they had a good record and then lost a couple of matches, which wasn't totally surprising. Because I just didn't think they were very good. But actually, they've been doing pretty well recently. They beat Kaboom, not a huge deal. They beat Furia, not a big deal. Lost to Vivo Keyed, beat PRG. So no big wins. I think that Flamengo is more similar to the teams that they've lost to. PRG and Furia. So PRG and Furia, we have two of the worst teams in the league. Prodigy has already beaten Furia this split. Are these all rematches? Maybe I should take a look at that. Kaboom against Vivo Keyed. Kaboom against Vivo Keyed. Kaboom won last time. Okay. Pain Gaming against Santos. Santos won the first match. Flamengo against INTZ. Flamengo won the first match. And then PRG against Furia. PRG won the first match. So PRG... Prodigy, every time I look at them, I think about the top laner first because he does play some good carry champions and can go out of control. So that is probably going to be my focus in that match. But that's it for all of the games tonight. So I will be streaming tonight, probably around 10 o'clock. I'm going to try to get into more of like a set schedule so that everyone can kind of just be ready at 10 o'clock to go over the sheet, discuss the upcoming slates, and do all that. So make sure to follow me on Twitch and check out my stream tonight around 10 o'clock. If you want to get access to my picks, join Patreon. It's $10 a month, and then you'll get access to the Discord where I post my sheet and I post the picks every day. And as always, the Patreon is primarily for support. Like, I love making these videos. I love spending the time doing this. It just helps incentivize me on the days that I may not want to make a video, which doesn't happen often, but it happens. So again, thank you for the support of all the patrons that are already in the community. Thank you to everyone who's even considering becoming a patron. I do appreciate it. It means a lot. So thanks again, and I will talk to you later.